My name's Brett Landis. I am both the managing attorney of Boulder County Legal Services, which is our local Colorado legal services office. And then I am also the current president of the Boulder County Bar Association. So I've got my hand in a few pots today. But we are happy to talk to you about what some of the low income and senior services, legal services have done in response to the Marshal Fire. So I think I'll let Bruce introduce himself, and then we'll finish up with Mike introducing himself, and then we'll go amongst the three of us to talk a little bit about the work we've been doing.
Sure, thanks, Brett. My name is Bruce Weiner. I'm the executive director of Bridge to Justice. We are a 501c3 nonprofit law firm based in Boulder, and our mission is to bridge the gap between legal needs and legal access with affordable, high-quality legal services. So we provide free and reduced rate legal services to low and moderate income Coloradans who don't qualify for free legal aid, such as Boulder County Legal Services, yet cannot afford a market rate attorney. So there are essentially three categories of services that we provide. The first is family law services. So representation in pre and post decree divorce and child custody cases. Most relevant for today's conversation, we provide free eviction legal defense services that's fully grant funded by the City of Boulder No Eviction Without Representation ballot initiative that was passed in 2020, as well as the State of Colorado Eviction Legal Defense Fund. And the final category of services is public benefits. So that's funded by the City of Boulder Health Equity Fund, which is commonly known as the sugar tax. And we assist low-income City of Boulder residents with food stamps, Medicaid, other public benefits related issues.
All right, and Mike, please introduce yourself.
Yes, welcome. Thanks, Brett. Thanks, Bruce. So my name is Mike Anderson, and I'm the executive director and managing attorney at Rocky Mountain Legal Center, and we're over in Lafayette. So the three of us, I think, have got the county covered very well in terms of nonprofit, free and low-cost legal services. So our organization is similar to the one that Bruce works with. We do offer free services and flat fee services really to anybody based on their income, with an emphasis primarily on lower income people. And our main emphasis of work is in family law, bankruptcy law, and we do a lot of estate planning work. And many of the Marshal Fire victims were our clients, our estate planning clients. Through the grant we have with Boulder County, we do lots of estate planning work. And by that, I mean wills, powers of attorney, advanced medical directives for people, things like that. So lots of our clients are Marshal Fire victims. The other area of law that I'm getting interested in over the last couple of weeks because of this whole situation are the insurance impacts that people are going to see. So I think we'll have probably more of a discussion about that today. And I'd like to share a couple of things that I've experienced with a handful of people that have called my office over the last couple of weeks that are Marshal Fire victims. So welcome everybody, and that's a little bit about me. We'll turn it back over to Brett, I think.
Great. Well, and I suppose I maybe started with the assumption that everyone knew what Colorado Legal Services does and what the Bar Association does. So I'll just briefly explain that before I jump into a brief summary of some of the work we've been doing. Colorado Legal Services is essentially the legal aid organization for Colorado. So we represent low-income and senior members of our community in civil legal cases. And really what that means practically in the Boulder office is that we do a lot of family law, particularly working with survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. We do a large amount of housing law, and that varies from eviction defense, habitability claims, and subsidized housing work. We do a fair amount of public benefits work as well, and we do a fair amount of consumer work, and that's an area that we're seeing kind of on the rise lately, probably more as a result of the COVID crisis and some of those longer term effects than a direct result of the Marshal Fire, but we may be seeing more of that as well, unfortunately. We do also have a Wills project in conjunction with the Boulder Senior Center. And we are connected with our statewide services, and that includes our survivor services, which provides immigration help for victims of domestic violence and serious crimes and human trafficking, as well as the Migrant Farm Worker Division, which does work on farm workers' rights, and the ID Project, which is probably the most relevant unit today, which helps people replace or obtain identification documents, which is a really important piece of this that I think, I have to say, I'm really proud of the way our community handled ID work early on. So just as the bar president, we are the professional organization for lawyers in Boulder County. We are connected with the Colorado Bar Association. And really, at times like this, the legal community's response is going to be coming through the Bar Association. So it was kind of a weird bit of timing that in my role with Colorado Legal Services, which has a mandate from the federal government to work on disaster-related issues, and in my role as the Boulder County Bar Association president, I was able to connect a lot of communication lines that I think or otherwise would have taken some time. So I'm really proud to say that, you know, both organizations that I'm involved with were able to jump to the moment very quickly. And part of that has to do with the fact that we have really strong institutions here in Boulder County. The Bar Association, probably the most immediately helpful thing the Bar Association did was we started advertising our virtual free legal clinic. This clinic has been in existence since, I would say, probably about March of 2020 or April of 2020. We used to have in-person legal clinics once a month, and this virtual format got started because we were noticing there was going to be a need for people to get legal questions answered. And with the new push, we've had about 65 fire-related questions come into that clinic. We've had additional volunteers directed towards us from the Colorado Bar Association. And it's been a really good kind of lifeline for people to get kind of quicker answers than they would ordinarily get from trying to book an appointment with someone. Overall, that clinic has served about 600 and some, and Kyle gave me the number a minute ago, and I have to apologize. My brain is like a sieve these days, but it was, we've served well over 600 clients.
You said 670 as of today.
Oh, 678, Kyle put in the chat. So
okay.
Almost 700.
So the number is rising as we speak, it sounds like.
Yes. So this has really been a really big part of the response. We also, as a bar association and legal services, were able to staff a legal services table at the Disaster Assistance Center. I believe we got notice on, I want to say on a Wednesday at 4:30 that they wanted us there the next day for all the hours it was open. And I am proud to say that we were able to do that. I personally, along with our fellowship attorney in my office, were able to staff that first day completely. And then with volunteers from the bar, from the private bar, we were able to get that staffed pretty completely. And we kept track of the number of people we talked about or talked to, and that was approximately 140, which I think shows how big the need was to talk to attorneys. Those questions that came in through the DAC we asked people to keep track of what types of questions were coming up. So we were getting questions based on couple about replacing identification documents. And it was really nice because we could just refer people down to the DMV, which was present at the DAC, the Negusie's office, Senator Bennett's office, and people were usually able to take care of those issues pretty quickly that day. The other big area of question, though, were people asking questions about their insurance issues and people asking questions about landlord-tenant issues. I saw a lot of people with habitability issues and issues on, well, we didn't have our home destroyed, but it was damaged, or it wasn't visibly damaged, but there was a lot of ash inside the home. What do I do? Is it safe to use my cooking materials? Is it safe to use my furniture? What does that process look like? What if my landlord says it's not, or I can't use it? What if my landlord is insisting they're not going to do any remediation? So those questions are complicated and challenging, and it was definitely helpful to have some way to touch base. We were able to provide some written information to people, including a chart from disasterlegalaid.org that goes through what to expect at what timeline. I have personally spent a fair amount of time since December 30th trying to educate myself on the issues that we're expecting. And one issue that I think is not quite ripe yet, but we may be seeing in the next few months, are going to be FEMA denials for FEMA assistance. And even in a longer term, up to about 3 years from now, we may see some recoupment cases from FEMA. So I've been trying to learn on the fly how to handle those cases and what defenses are available, what that appeals process looks like. We are also expecting to see a number of title clearing cases. Our foreclosure unit at Colorado Legal Services is prepared to help in some of those cases for low income and seniors affected by that. And I believe the real estate section of the private bar is also working on that. As Bruce pointed out, I think landlord-tenant issues are still going to be an issue that we keep coming back to. I remember when I started my position in about 2016, we were still getting cases involving habitability claims involving the flood of 2012. So that becomes a big issue. If people are still having ID unit cases, we do have some availability to help with those at Colorado Legal Services. We have our ID unit, as I said before. And I believe the political representatives are also working on those still for people who don't qualify. And then other issues that might come up, disaster unemployment benefits. And I had a really interesting talk with Ann Tapp, who's the executive director of Safe House Progressive Alliance for Nonviolence. And she brought up the really important point that unfortunately, anytime there is some sort of natural or man-made disaster, something that hits a community on this scale, it tends to increase both the frequency and severity of intimate partner violence. So certainly, I've been talking with our community partners at SPAN and at Safe Shelter of the St. Vrain, and we've been trying to kind of brace ourselves and our staffs for the increase in those services. The other kind of piece of this that I want to mention is the partnership with the Colorado Bar Association. They have been incredibly supportive and incredibly helpful of our local bar in terms of getting information out there. And they have started a hotline to direct people to, actually quite honestly, direct people to Kyle at this time, but they have some support for him scheduled if he needs it, but really to try to help set up a triage so that people are calling one centralized number and able to get to the right organization to help them with their particular issue. And with that, we're hoping that some point in the next few weeks we'll be able to announce some additional resources through the private bar and the Colorado Lawyers Committee. So we're still waiting to finalize some of those plans, but there will be some additional resources, especially as we are looking at some of the mid-range and long-term issues that come up. So I will pass it off to Bruce to do a brief summary. I know I probably talked more than my fair share, so I apologize, but I'm talking for two organizations.
Thanks, Brett. So most of the inquiries that we've received in connection with the Marshal Fire have been landlord-tenant related. I mentioned that we're funded by the State of Colorado Eviction Legal Defense Fund. So we can provide free eviction defense-related legal services to individuals earning up to 200% of poverty. So it's fairly low threshold. Many of the victims of the Marshal Fire earn more than 200% of poverty. So we're not able to assist those individuals under the State of Colorado housing grant. We do have a couple of other grants from Boulder County that we could use to assist individuals earning above the 200% of poverty threshold. So that's a couple of ways that we could assist tenants facing eviction. We've also received some inquiries from tenants with non-eviction related issues. And it's been interesting to see because we've fielded calls from tenants, some who want to break their lease, others who want to stay on the premises, and the landlord is not letting them back on. So for those individuals, because those issues are not eviction related, they're not covered by our grant, and we've referred those cases out to the CU Law School Civil Litigation Clinic, and they've been able to assist those tenants, which is a great resource. And those are free services to those individuals. We've also connected some tenants to rental assistance. And I read this morning that the Boulder County Community Foundation Wildfire Fund has raised $27 million, which is really incredible. And I was reading yesterday that King Soopers made a $500,000 donation. So it's really great to see the financial support that's being provided in Boulder County and elsewhere. I think they're receiving donations around the country and I think internationally as well. We're also assisting a couple of clients on a pro bono basis. One client in particular is working with one of our contract attorneys. This is a very sad case. His sibling actually died in the fire, and his case presents some challenges as we don't have the estate planning documents because they were destroyed in the fire, unfortunately. So our attorney is assisting the client in filing a request for a special appointment to allow the client to retrieve his brother's remains and to attend a burial and cremation. And we're also going to file for a formal appointment of a PR, personal representative, so the client can attend to other issues impacting the estate, including remediation of the home site and processing insurance claims. So I consider that case to be very unique and certainly worthy of pro bono services. So it's kind of a mix, but for the most part, it's landlord-tenant related. Unfortunately, we can't assist everyone just because most of the landlord-tenant services that we can provide to non-City of Boulder residents is capped at that 200% of poverty threshold. Mike?
Thanks, Bruce. So a lot of the calls that our office are receiving, excuse me, are something that Bruce mentioned, lost estate planning documents. So everybody, that lost their house, lost everything in it as well, including their medical directives, their powers of attorney, their wills, their trusts, all of it. So we did put out the word about a month ago. I'll put it out here for everybody today. But our organization is offering free replacement estate plan documents for any Marshal Fire victim, regardless of their income. If they lost their estate planning documents, We're happy to make new ones for them. We're happy to replace their existing documents. So I put that out there. And so far, we've had 7 Marshal Fire victims come see us and take advantage of that and get replacement documents from us. Over the last couple of weeks, I've also been getting calls on insurance issues. We are grant funded primarily at our organization. However, we also do try to help really anybody that calls our office, just like the other organizations do too, referring people out, referring people to us. Many of the landlord-tenant calls that I get, I'll refer over to Bruce's office. So insurance, I think, is an area that all 3 of us don't have a lot of experience with, that we're learning about as this whole process unfolds. But I see a major problem coming with a gap in insurance. Everybody is going to end up being underinsured. And more specifically, I've talked to a couple of seniors recently too that have reverse mortgages that lost their house. And when you have a reverse mortgage and you lose your house, you pretty much lose your house. I mean, it's like the reverse mortgages are great in a lot of situations, but the worst case scenario, if you have a reverse mortgage, is a natural disaster and the house burns down. So these 2 people aren't planning to rebuild. They want to move out of Boulder County and go with family members. So if you're not planning to rebuild, that mortgage is now 100% due. And there isn't enough insurance to cover the balance now due on that mortgage. So these people have now lost their entire homes and now have a massive gap that they're going to end up probably getting sued for and owe their mortgage company. So, and all the other people that have regular old mortgages are probably going to be 20 to 30% underinsured when it comes to rebuilding. So I don't know, that's something I just want to put out there because I'm exploring it quite a bit lately. And I think we need to somehow talk about some resources in that area. A lot of this money that's out there, the money that the Community Foundation has raised is amazing. And there are other private GoFundMe accounts, other wildfire funds accounts. The numbers are in, over $100 million. Where's all that money going to go? That I think is going to be a legal issue in the future as well, that I don't know if we have the resources to all get involved in, but somehow that money's got to get spent the right way. And who's going to oversee all that and how's it going to happen? I think that's an important issue as well. So those are things I'm seeing and calls I'm taking at the office, but primarily it's replacement of estate planning documents and now dealing with these insurance issues.
Yeah, and Mike, just as kind of a tag on the insurance issues and slash advertising blurb, the BCBA, one of the things that we did was to set up a series of CLE presentations that are available for free for home study. And you can access through our website, boulder-bar.org. But Jeff Rose, who's our immediate past president of the BCBA, presented a really helpful one on insurance issues, which I know kind of opened my eyes personally to a lot of the issues that are going to come up. So with that, we are a relatively small group, and I think what we had talked about was having this be a little bit more informal. So if people want to unmute and start off with any questions, any comments or any observations that anyone has seen so far.
Hi, I'll go. My name is Ben Edelstein. I am not an attorney, although I happen to be married to one. So hopefully that doesn't
God
count
bless you.
or against me. Yeah. Kyle asked if I would join this call because I've just started with an organization. We're just spinning up an organization called Superior Rising. We're focused on the township of Superior and its residents to try to make sure that they have a voice, they have some advocacy, that the issues that are unique to the Superior residents are addressed in coordination with the other groups that are involved in the effort, yours included. In fact, the reason I found my way to Kyle is I met a resident at one of our town meetings who had a contract for debris removal and needed some help with that because it's long and it's complex, and it was just beyond his ability. So hopefully Kyle was able to point him in the right direction. But for our part, we're only 3 weeks into getting spun up. We've had a number of meetings with the community outreach is a big piece of what we need to do. We know that the folks in Old Town are going to probably be the highest needs residents. The case of a reverse mortgage, one of our board members has been working with an Old Town resident who is in that very situation, and it's very challenging for those folks in particular. So it's great to hear that you guys are taking this up, and the work that you're doing is certainly something that I'm going to bring back to our group, because ultimately it's our goal to find the resources that are going to help support our community. Insurance being a key issue, which is something that I raised my hand to dig into. So been meeting with United policyholders. They've got a great organization with a lot of experience in dealing with this issue. We've also worked with the Colorado Springs Together organization, which was formed a decade ago in response to fires that they had. They took a different tact, which was much more one of partnering with the industry, and for me, we'll take help wherever we can get it, and I think both routes are very useful. Although it's interesting to see the dynamic between the two organizations play out. There was a note that I wanted to make. We are definitely going to see insurance issues as they come up. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that I've gotten pulled into the long-term recovery group, which is, I don't know if you're familiar with it, it's just being formed now. In fact, the meeting on Tuesday elected the interim board members. They will be using the Community Foundation of Boulder County as their fiscal agent, so they will not file 501c3. Okay. We're in the process of filing 501c3 now, but they are really going to be instrumental in helping to identify, where the $27.4 million that the foundation has raised to date, how that's allocated. They'll be doing that on the basis of disaster case management and trying to, get as much bang for the buck as possible. I don't know how litigious that's going to get. I was kind of my ears perked up at Mike's comment about, ensuring the proper allocation of those funds. But, what I would say is that it's best to have, folks at the table to provide that, good oversight, so that, that the group is well directed and we can avoid any kind of future legal issues. So anyway, this is relatively new to me. I'm not in the disaster industry, as a lot of folks we've met are. So, we're just trying to do our best for the community.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that. That's huge. I think the long-term recovery group sounds incredibly important because, again, if we learned anything from the floods that hit Boulder County more than 10 years ago.
Right.
If we learned anything from that, it is that, we will see things coming up again and again and again. And the process is not short. And so if we miss things now, if there are things we don't even know to think about, those are going to be important a decade from now. So
yeah, for sure. Excellent. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah,
we're Superior Rising. We've got our website stood up. I'm happy to provide my contact information. Certainly, if there's anything that comes up for Superior, this is another resource and avenues that we have to direct residents to for services. So thank you.
Yeah. If you'd like, would you put the Superior Rising information in the chat? That would,
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
because yeah, it's been really interesting. I've talked with a couple of people who are members of our legal community who have lost homes or have damaged homes from that area, and the perspective of knowing exactly what is scaring people is incredibly helpful to know on our end how to prepare to help.
Yep.
I've certainly heard, one friend, she suddenly found herself in charge of her HOA, despite previously having no interest in that whatsoever. And in part because she's the lawyer in the neighborhood, they put her in charge. But it's, exercising some new skills, reading types of contracts you've never seen before. And one thing someone brought up is that a lot of people who are homeowners are suddenly finding themselves in the position of being a tenant again.
Yeah.
And seeing kind of all the shortfalls of our system and the way tenants' rights work versus landowners' rights. And so that certainly has been a change for a lot of people. Yeah, so I'd like to invite anyone else who has any questions, comments. I see Kurt here.
Hi.
Hey, Kurt.
Hey, so I introduced myself. I'm Kurt Hofgaard with Hofgaard Associates in Boulder. Been here for about 26 years. My partner, Linda Hofgaard, is also on the call today. We've been affected twice by fires. Our condo unit at 2301 Pearl was part of Whittier Place. So that was last October. And then we had to evacuate our house in Louisville, and everything's fine there, but we have so many friends and neighbors that are struggling with things. First, I'd like to thank all of you and everything you're doing for these people. Thank you. I mean, there are 4 or 5 of you out there. We really appreciate it. I mean, I can tell you. And I would like to offer to help however I can. The ones on the call here who are in estate planning, wills and trusts and so forth. If you need help with that, just call me or email me. I'd be glad to help you with that and help some of these people replace their plans. That was one thing. And there's a couple of things I've noticed lately. I don't know, and these are maybe just points of discussion, but one is there are so many people that are underinsured that we've come across. And I don't have any experience in property and casualty insurance. I do in life insurance, but not fire, property, casualty. Has anyone ever brought a class action against the insurance companies? Because almost everyone I'm talking to was underinsured. So I don't know if anyone knows anything about that or has ever done anything like that. I wouldn't be the person to, obviously. But just curious.
That's a really interesting idea. And I think the thing I'd be curious to know, and just as a caveat, because my office is federally funded, I'm not allowed to bring class action lawsuits. So I can't bring a class action for anyone. I'm sorry. But my wonky lawyer brain is wondering if the reasons people are underinsured is the same reason consistently, or if it varies. Like, I know for some people it's just the price, the real estate prices just went through the roof over the past several years. And if they bought long enough ago, they're probably underinsured for that reason.
Yeah. If I can I throw in really quick on this, because this is definitely an issue. We certainly spoke to our insurance agent, and COVID had a large role in, limiting our contact. The last time we met with him was 5 years ago over coffee. And, it wasn't until this event that, we reassessed our insurance coverage, and it has less to do with the value of the property because it's rebuilt. It's the cost to rebuild.
Okay.
So it has to
Right.
do with a certain degree of inflation and the supply, chain challenges that we're all living through. So the cost to build is significantly more than what it was. And if you're not, really on top of that, you're going to be underinsured. There is a piece of legislature going through the Colorado House currently. In fact, I think they had some hearings today. I think it's HB 22-111, I believe. You'd have to look it up, but it does address, or it is targeted to the issue of underinsurance. But ultimately, it's incumbent upon the property owner to reach out to their insurance agent proactively to review and seek, increased coverage. And, we're reasonably on top of things, but, it's not something that came across our radar. It certainly wasn't something I recall our agent bringing up, and he's a great guy and we really like working with him. But, I think it's just a blind spot for people until, an event like this happens. And when this happens, it's too late.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've talked to at least a couple of people that actually did talk to their insurance agents, and insurance agents have always said, "No, you're fine. You've got enough," and they didn't. And from my experience in life insurance, one of the things I always learned is as the broker agent, has to be proactive with his or her clients and sell to their needs. And so I just can't believe that this, there's so many people that this happened to. Anyway, that was one thing I was curious about. And then the other thing, this came up earlier today, but there is a lot of relief money there. And I'm in Louisville, and cannot afford to build to the new code in Louisville that was just passed last fall. The environmental code, which I think is great, we need to do so that we don't have wildfires in the future. So if there's kind of something going on where people are saying, you need to let us build to the code that was there before, and we shouldn't have to meet these new stringent eco codes of Louisville. So let us build to the code that was there before, because it will cost too much for us to build to the new code. And that's just perpetuating the problem, because and so if Louisville says, yeah, go ahead, do that, then we're just going to have houses that possibly might be subject to another wildfire. So I don't know if any of these funding sources would be available for any of those people or not, but I don't know. Those are just some of my thoughts hearing all of you. Thank you very much again.
Yeah. No, thank you, Kurt. I think those are really, really interesting thoughts. Another piece on the insurance, I know FEMA does have some assistance available. It is usually a little bit too little, and the application process can be a little challenging, but I believe there is some FEMA related assistance to try to close that insurance gap. I don't know how effective it'll be yet for a lot of these homes. And I will say, watching Jeff's CLE on the website is really, really helpful for me anyways, because it is so far from the world that I normally practice in.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in right there too, and just piggyback on some stuff that Ben and Kurt brought up. It's really these construction costs and this new net zero building. One of my very long-term friends lost her house on St. Andrews Drive, right by the golf course there. And she had about a 3,000 square foot house, and she had it insured. She got a $600,000 check from the insurance company is what she ended up getting from it. She fortunately did recently up her insurance. So she does have an extra 25% on top of that to rebuild. But what she's finding and what I'm finding is that the construction costs are probably going to approach $300 a square foot. So to rebuild that 3,000 square foot home at $300 a square foot, she's looking at $900,000. And according to some of these estimates, when you throw in the net zero requirements that Louisville has, you can put another 10% potentially on top of those costs. So a lot of these people, my friend is going to have a $300,000 plus. Well, she's got that extra 25%, fortunately, which a lot of people don't have. But she's still going to have a six-figure gap. All these other people are going to have probably $300,000 gaps. So where's that money going to come from? And that's, I don't know, there's so much money out there. That's where I'm concerned that is it going to go to that? Or is it going to go to other stuff that maybe gets misdirected? I don't know. So I raise that point.
Yeah. No, it's definitely an important consideration, and with the amount of donations that exist out there, maybe there will be some help from the charitable section and the foundation. One thing that did make me kind of think about that we haven't talked about yet that is of major concern is both rental price gouging and construction frauds that are out there. I know our district attorney's office is incredibly proactive in trying to prevent frauds and scams, mostly through their community protection unit and their work, but they have also been very involved on the issue of price gouging and are interested in taking some of those cases as a criminal matter. I know the Attorney General's office has mentioned price gouging in the rental market and in the construction market as being issues that they're kind of prepared to look into and prepared to work out. Has anyone besides me been seeing some concerns about that?
Yes, anecdotally, I've seen a couple of those issues. There was a recent Denver Post article about that very issue, about landlords trying to jack up rents significantly under the guise of renovations and repairs for remediation purposes.
Yeah, and I believe there is.
Unfortunately, the market is, in a culture where the market drives, there's a lack of inventory and there's a lot of demand. So, that is going to spur folks to raise prices.
Yeah.
Just
but I will. Oh, go ahead, Erin.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to add that another thing I noticed in speaking to some of the victims was the rental application fees that they were noticing. They would apply for a house, or they'd look at applying for a house and realize that they'd already accepted 15 applicants ahead of them and accepted an application fee for each one of them, which is clearly gouging because they're just making money off of these application fees.
Well, and I will say there's been fairly recent legislation limiting the application fees. So those might be cases if people did pay those fees, they could potentially recoup some of that, depending on how mad they are. But I would say, yeah, and depending on how much the fee was. But, certainly it's something worth talking to the district attorney's office, because if they do it to enough people, it could be worthy of looking into, especially if it is contrary to the new law, depending on what they're charging for. But I believe they're only supposed to charge the actual cost of looking into someone's background check. So, and I would imagine a number of landlords have not yet updated their application fee policy. Yeah, and I do believe there is, and I have not read it personally, so I apologize. But I believe there is a specific Colorado state statute on price gouging in the rental market right after a disaster. So even though market forces might be moving towards increasing rent, there are limits and limits that the AG's office can go after people for if they're really trying to be predatory in the wake of a natural disaster.
Brett, I have a question.
Mhm.
So Mike had mentioned that there are likely going to be legal issues surrounding allocation of the funds that have been raised through the Community Foundation and elsewhere. Has the bar had any contact with the Community Foundation and the folk administering that money?
I personally have not on that issue. I'm not sure if Kyle or Laura, our executive director, have. I know as many meetings as I have been in, Laura has been in just as many with a variety of community partners. I think on a certain level, we don't, as a bar association, want to pretend that we're the experts in everything. We are the experts in legal services, but it may be worth connecting with them at some point. I will also put in another plug for our bar association resources. We do have the Boulder County Bar Foundation, which is our charitable giving arm. And I think actually all three of our organizations, Colorado Legal Services, Bridge to Justice, and Rocky Mountain Legal Center, I believe all three of us were grantees this year.
That's right. So our office is located in the Spruce Street mansion where the Community Foundation is based. They own the building. So if you'd like an introduction to anyone at the foundation, just let me know. Yeah,
that might be helpful to at least connect so we can refer people to the right places. Well, we have about 10 minutes left. Are there any other questions, thoughts? Well, if not, I really have to say these types of experiences are always so horrible, and everyone I know knows someone who is affected by all of this. But I do have to say, if there is any kind of ray of hope or silver lining, it has been seeing our community's response, seeing how well run the Disaster Assistance Center was and how quickly different organizations were able to get representation there. Seeing how quick people were to offer their homes and office space. That was one of the first things that we asked of our membership, was who could share their home or their office space with other bar members. And the response was really so much more than the need, and that was huge. And really, even some of my attorney friends who were involved in the fire, who have, instead of just kind of succumbing under the stress and the pressure, have taken it upon themselves to run their HOA, or one attorney who has just continued to volunteer his time. So I think there is something really to be said about the character of our community in the way our community has responded. So I find that very hopeful. So on that note, that's all I have to say, is finding the hope and finding the helpers in the situation has been really inspiring.
Absolutely.
Likewise. Well, you're doing great work, Brett, and same for you, Mike.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Kurt. Well, thank you all. I think we'll go ahead and conclude a little bit early if there aren't any more questions, but it was really good to see you, Bruce. Good to see you, Mike. I know the three of us don't get together as often as we ought to, mostly because we're all busy helping clients. But and Ben, thank you so much for your comments and your perspective and all the work that you are doing for the folks in Superior.
Thank you.
That
Yeah,
really
appreciate
is
it.
huge. Again, you are included in those people who inspire me, who could have felt sorry for themselves and instead are helping others. So
Great. Thank you.
it's a great thing.
Appreciate it. Great. We'll throw them your way.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks everybody.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Oh, Mike, I had a question for you. I heard that Bill is no longer with Rocky Mountain Legal Center. Did he leave?
Right. He did. Yeah, he is now a district attorney in Jefferson
Yeah,
County.
that's what
So,
you know how I found out. My mother goes to the Erie Rec Center a lot.
and now he's not there doing
And
senior
he
lunch
showed
anymore.
up and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm
Yeah,
at the DA's office." Oh, well, congratulations to him.
yeah, we miss him for
Are
sure.
you hanging in there?
We are, yeah, we are. Yep, and we just
Good.
moved into our new office last week too.
Oh,
so
nice. Yeah,
yeah.
you guys are just a couple blocks away from where you were.
2 doors actually away from where we were. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
nice.
Yeah, 2 doors down. So yeah, fortunately, we lucked out and found the right spot. So
Right.
the same thing will happen for you guys.
Nice. I know. I'm I'm hoping it goes through.
Is your lease? It's up like this month or next month?
No, March 31st.
Okay,
So
all right. Well, good.
Oh, that is next month. Oh God.
That is coming fast.
We put an offer in and we're in the process of negotiating around that offer. So
Good. What kind of space are you looking for? How big?
So roughly about like 1,500 square feet.
Yeah.
Depending on a couple of things, that might change. So we are looking at maybe a shorter lease than we would normally look at.
Right. What are you seeing? $2,500 and up for sure?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, our current rent is more than that.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, they were proposing right now it's 3,200, and they're proposing to increase it to about 3,400.
Wow.
And then over the next 5 years, get to about 3,800.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So between like the location of the office and the cost of the rent, it just didn't seem like a good fit anymore.
No, you can definitely find something better for sure.
Yeah. Well, and I will say we've had construction going on in the office next to us, which has made it a little easier to leave than it would normally be.
Right. Good.
But yeah, it is challenging. I mean, we looked at a couple of spaces. We found one space that would have been perfect location, perfect size, no elevator. So obviously can't do that.
Yeah, got to be on the ground floor then. All right, well, I wish you the best. Hopefully something comes through for you. I'm sure it will. So
thank you. Yeah, it's hopefully, yeah, we made the offer, they made a counter offer, we made a counter offer.
Good. All right.
So we'll see. I trust our realtor. I'm leaving it in his hands. So
good.
It's good to see you though.
All right, good to see you too. We'll see you again soon.
Yeah, good luck on hiring Bill's replacement. That's
we
always
are looking, so
always a challenge. Well, if I hear any good law students or former interns, I'll send them your way.
Okay, do that. Yeah, please do.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
See you.
We'll see you, Brett. Bye.
Bye. And bye, Kyle. Anything more from me that you need?
Oh, that was perfect. Thank you so much. Again, we're just going to offer that as kind of a free update. I don't know if I can get CLE for this. I mean, I'll try. And then if it's like a 0.5 or something, then that's CLE for folks. So
that works.
It was really interesting topics.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily legal work or substantive legal issues, but
right. Never hurts to try.
Yeah, and I kind of took over, but I figured if anyone should, I like the moderator role. Perfect.
Yeah, thank you so much. Again, we kind of threw it together at the last second. I think it worked really well. So
yeah, I think it did too, and it gave Bruce, Mike, and I a chance to touch base, which again doesn't happen as often as you'd think. So.
And then, quick question. I mean, I'm trying to verify with everyone that they're coming to the mock trials and getting their contact info.
Yeah.
I think I haven't heard back from Bill Landis, but he's probably good, right?
Yes. I have a text from him today.
Okay.
What did he say? Yeah, he's he and Hannah are both they're both planning on it. They're going to be there at 1.
Perfect.
They're coming from Denver, and he didn't realize she had something until noon.
Okay.
So that should be plenty of time.
Actually, if you don't mind, I haven't heard from either of them at all, which makes me think that maybe my emails are going to their junk. So if
maybe
if you just want to send them my cell phone number,
okay,
and then just say, hey, if you guys are running late, text Kyle just so he has a heads up.
Kyle, yeah, okay, I'll send that to them.
Perfect. and we should be good. So we'll see. I think we see you tomorrow, right? Or are you on Saturday?
I'm on Saturday. Yeah, tomorrow. Unfortunately, both Omar and I have
Perfect. Okay.
work-related
We'll see how it
things,
goes.
and
Yeah,
the rest of my
cool.
family is coming on.
I know
Friday.
that's a help. We need them. We every bit we can get. So
Yeah,
thanks again, and we'll
no
see you this
problem.
weekend.
Yeah, and I've told them mostly the most important thing to look at it ahead of time is just the video.
Perfect.
Like,
Okay.
my mom does not need to memorize the fake rules of evidence.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, it's all about the performance. So if my
Yeah.
fiance, it'll be like an alternate. And I'm like,
Oh, nice.
judge on performance. That's all that matters.
Well, yeah, I mean, my parents have both done performance stuff in the past, and they used to
then they're
judge.
ready for it.
They used to judge my forensics tournaments when I was in high school. So
Okay, then that's exactly.
they're
what we need.
experienced judges.
Perfect.
And Bill's a former mock trial state champion in New York
Oh,
from
okay.
his high
So,
school
yeah,
days. But he
that
was
should be an
he
easy
was a
one to get.
witness, not a lawyer. Hannah, I think Hannah is not a performer, but her parents are. So
Okay.
so
Still
she's seen
good
a
fit.
lot.
That's all that matters. Thanks,
They're
Brett.
warm bodies who can listen and write down notes.
That's what we
the
need.
most important thing. Sounds
Cool.
good. And I don't know if you put Omar and I in the same room on Saturday, but
No, I don't know that Laura does that. So I'm not,
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know if I've seen that.
she asked me if it was okay to put Bill and Hannah and my mom and dad in the same room together. And I'm like,
Gotcha.
yeah,
I guess
yeah,
you'll
they all
find out
like
when
each
you
other.
show up.
yeah.
Cool. Thanks again,
Sounds
Brett.
good. All right. See ya.
Mike.